This is probably my number one enemy. This is the one I battle myself all the time. But I've introduced some processes to help me eliminate this. And I think confirmation bias is so normal. I think it occurs in every profession. Every individual goes through this. It's called confirmation bias. And confirmation bias is when you ignore or filter out anything that doesn't square with your beliefs or prejudices. When you're trading, this can be really dangerous. So if you're on the losing end of a trade, any news related information supporting your existing position can be grabbed and you just attach yourself to it, right? You're emotionally committed to this. You emotionally attach yourself to the information, even though this is a losing trade, despite the facts or the larger truth. You just choose to ignore that. A confirmation trading bias then means we ignore inconvenient information, opposing information. So one strategy to combat such a bias is to actively seek out information that contradicts that setup, contradicts our own views, and really listen hard to logical, rational reasoning and the facts behind those opposing views. Really take them into account. One thing that I do to combat confirmation bias is I have my trading idea. I then create a different chart, completely fresh chart, and I look for the opposing idea. And then I look at the confluences and then the fundamentals. And then I look to see what other traders are trying to see and the fundamentals. And then I'll choose the direction, usually the direction of market structure, which is the higher time frame trend, and the fundamentals, right? So if the fundamentals and the higher time frame trend are in line with the setup, I tend to go with that direction on the lower time frame. If I'm quite conflicted with the trading idea, I still look at the other side. I still look at those other ideas. I'll try to look for information on the fundamentals that go against the main fundamental idea that I had before. So both an opposing fundamental view and an opposing technical view. And also try and find traders who have a different idea to you as well. And that's why it's good to trade in a team or join a community and just see what other traders are looking at. And if they oppose your view, it's good to know what they're doing. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you should follow what they're doing. It just take into account that information. Don't ignore it, because it has saved me so many big losses, right? Especially when I use strategies like risk management strategies that involve scaling into positions, scaling up. So for example, if I'm doing 0.25% risk per trade per position, but on a good trade, I would risk up to 1%. So that would mean 4 positions of 0.25% risk each position. This could get me into trouble, because if I go full into an entire position looking at just one view, then I could end up losing the full risk of that position, of that entire trade. But if I'm taking account the other side, the opposing ideas, I may just do half risk for that particular trade. So there are certain strategies that I use where I either go full risk from the start, or I break that risk up into kind of like pyramid into a scale into a certain position. These are sort of like risk management techniques that you can use to combat confirmation bias, but you have to look at those opposing views.